This is the Cooking Today Show. I'm Allan Gilbreth, and I'm sitting here with my partners in culinary crime, Brandon Olmsted and Claire.
Howdy.
As I stare directly at her and go, oh no, you're in this one. Yeah. All righty. And Brandon, I'm going to stare you down and go, you did this to me this week.
I did, but before we actually get into what today's subject is, I want to talk about something that you posted over the past week that if you guys haven't seen it on the website, Allan did corned beef, and you can taste it through the picture.
Oh, yeah. I'm I don't know what it is about good old-fashioned, just everyday corned beef and cabbage. And I know that's a big thing around March,
right.
We've got the holiday in there that once a year people force themselves into a terrible corned beef and cabbage because they don't know what they're doing.
Well, I mean, but they've been told due to the holiday, it's like there's two things you're supposed to have: corned beef and cabbage and a green beer.
That's true.
And I tend to avoid all of them because of the fact that most people I know don't know how to make either.
No, they don't. But I'll skip the beverage.
Uh-huh.
But man, I love me some corned beef and cabbage.
And just based on that visual, it's like I wasn't there when you cooked it, but based on that visual, that looked like it was a fairly I won't say intricate process so much as a long process.
All right. Well, here's the great thing. I'm going to tell you, long, yes, intricate, nowhere near as intricate as you think.
No.
Because you can buy a corned beef. You do not have to corn it yourself. That is a whole other show by itself.
Right.
The act of corning. So you can just buy a corned beef.
Yeah.
And the trick is the setting between warm and low on your stove. Mm-hmm. Whether you have gas or electric, I don't care. But you need a big stock pot and a big corned beef, an onion, some mustard seeds, a little tiny bit of allspice, and some bay leaves. That's it.
All right, but how long does it have to sit there?
As long as you want it to. Hours. Okay. Hours upon hours upon. You don't even have to cut the onion up. Just drop it in there. Drop the whole onion in there. If you want to, you can dice the onion up because this is going to be the best onion soup you ever had in your life later.
Right.
But you don't have to.
But, and while the beef looked amazing,
mm-hmm.
and the cabbage, it's cabbage. If you like cabbage, you can't make it look ugly.
Oh, yeah, you can. I've seen some pretty beat up cabbage, but
I'm just saying that that's its natural state, though.
Yes.
Yeah. But what got me is I'm a potato fiend.
Yes.
And when I saw the potatoes, and I'm just sitting there going, I hate Allan. I have to find a way to torture Allan because when a picture makes me salivate, I can be around I can be around celebrities, I can be around models, I can be around like high executives. You've seen me. Nothing impresses me when it comes to celebrity. But I see food, and it's like, oh my God.
It is a passion.
Okay. It is.
All right. So here was the process.
So I had to get you back, and that's why
we're doing today's show.
That's why today's show is happening.
All right. Well, I'll finish out the process for you.
Okay.
All right. So that morning, got up, put the corned beef in the big stock pot of water, and I mean like 4 inches of water over the corned beef.
Which
big stock pot.
Submerged.
It's underwater. And I started right out of frozen. I mean, straight from the grocery store, big chunk of frozen corned beef, straight into the pot.
Which a lot of people seem to think that you have to thaw something before you cook it. No.
This is going to be there all day.
Yeah.
So set the stove right between warm and low.
Yeah.
So I didn't even want it to boil. I want it to get 190, 180 degrees.
Yes.
And just basically hot bath soak all day. And
It's been a nice hot tub sauna day.
It is. It's, sauna for the beef. And just let that go. And like I said, if you're not a big onion fan, whatever you feel like for spice, you can go ahead and add it to the water. And I'm going to throw in some options that make people kind of crazy. A dash or two of like Cajun seasoning will actually bring up the flavor of the corned beef. Now, don't be putting like a tablespoon in because we don't want to turn this into a Creole dish.
No.
We want it to be a nice corned beef and cabbage.
You want
It's
something
fusion cuisine, dear.
Mm-hmm.
You want something that's going to bring out the natural flavors of the meat.
Right.
Yeah.
And, they corned it for a reason. So my personal favorites are about a teaspoon of mustard seeds,
Okay.
4 or 5 bay leaves. And that sounds like a lot, but really, not really.
Not
Go for it.
Not with as big as that pot is.
Not as strong as a flavor as it's
Right.
going to be. And like I said, you can dice up an onion in there if you want. If not, you can just put a whole onion in there that you're going to take out later and toss.
Right.
Or
not
leave
throw
it
it-
out completely
do
if
not
you're not
throw
an
it-
onion fan.
Yeah. Do not throw it at your neighbor's house.
No,
That
no.
can get you in trouble.
Yeah, that'll get you in trouble. And again, just stuff you can just leave out. One wild recipe I saw for it is a lot of people like to add a cup of red wine.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that, but I like
I can
that
see that
at the
working.
end
Right.
for the cabbage, not the corned beef.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this. It's like there's an old saying, if you don't drink the wine, don't cook with the wine.
Correct.
I know a lot of people go, well, I can get some cooking sherry or something. No. If you're going to cook with wine, use real wine.
Use stuff you want to drink.
If you're not willing to drink it, it doesn't.
Don't cook with it. Right. Basically about 10 minutes before dinner.
Okay.
All right, but let's back up because I cheat a little bit. After about 4 or 5 hours of the nice bath,
Yeah.
I turn the heat off and let it cool down a little bit. I go ahead and take the corned beef out and I cut it into the slices.
Right.
Put them back into the pot and just let it sit until it's about dinner time. About 30 minutes before dinner, I'm going to take the cabbage. And honestly, my favorite way to do cabbage is don't mess with what's already good.
Mm-hmm.
Just flip that baby over, cut most of the core out. You don't even have to get all of it. Just most of the really hard woody stuff. Just get the core out. Cut that baby into 4 big wedges. You got 4 people having dinner, cut it into 4 wedges. You got 6 people having dinner, cut it into 6 wedges. If you got people that really like cabbage, just cut it into wedges because everybody's getting 2 wedges each.
There you go.
And all you have to do is just put the wedges, cut side down into the water with the corned beef,
Right.
and now just boil the bejesus out of it for about 10 minutes till you can take a toothpick, stab the cabbage, and it goes in and out smoothly.
Right.
Once you can do that, guess what, guys? Take it off the heat, get some bowls. You're ready to serve.
Yeah.
Now, an hour, if you want to do the potatoes, put them in a couple of hours earlier. But about an hour before you're ready to turn off the heat.
Yeah.
And I like the little red potatoes, new red potatoes.
Right.
Just toss however many of those you want in the bottom of the pot and let them have a good hour in the bath and leave them down there for the 15 to 20 minutes it's going to boil, and you will have piping hot, well-cooked potatoes that are not overcooked.
Which that is another thing that people tend to do. They cook the potato until it's mush.
It just falls apart.
You want to be able to stab the potato with the toothpick fairly easy, but you don't want the potato to just like crumble apart.
Right.
You want a little bit of firmness to it.
So welcome to March, good old-fashioned corned beef and cabbage. And I know all
I'm
of
gonna
you
call
guys...
it March fatness because so good. Just looking at the picture made me gain 5 pounds.
This has been the corned beef episode of Cooking Today.
Oh my gosh.
But because of my need for vengeance, because of what you did, I gave you the perfect.
You brought up the challenge.
I brought up the challenge, and I will say that you done good, sir.
Well, when we get back from the break, we're going to get serious about today's topic, which is going to be the infamous world of enchiladas. So, what can I say? Get your pen and paper and get ready for about 5,000 variations. This is the Cooking Today show, and I'm Allan Gilbreth, and I'm here with Brandon and Claire. We've just got through talking all about a little March of I don't know, a little March indulgence with corned beef and cabbage.
I'm still going to stick with March Fatness.
March fatness.
Yeah.
Cabbage and all it's really good for you.
I know it is. And
We won't bring up that giant chunk of corned beef so much, but
it's the potatoes, man.
the potatoes and cabbage are really good for you. All right, let's wander over to this week's challenge.
Yes.
Shall we?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so,
I know
last week I issued the words. So what are we going to talk about next week?
I know I'm the devil for this, but I love it. I love being that little thorn in your side going, do this.
And
then Claire gets to benefit.
And so y'all looked at me and went, enchiladas.
Enchiladas.
It's like, okay, enchiladas. Let me think about this for a minute.
You have 70,000 variations you could go with. Let's see what you bring us.
Wow, it was, doing a little research on enchiladas. Enchiladas are more than what you think of than at a Mexican restaurant.
And let me go ahead and put this out there to the audience. There is nothing more adorable than giving a challenge to a creative person where there can be that many variations, because all of a sudden they're like, where do I stop?
Yeah. Where do I stop was, how much stuff do I have in my freezer?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, I decided
Which
we're going to
was apparently
start
well
with,
stocked.
Would you expect any less from him?
Oh God,
Oh
no.
my gosh, you don't even want to see my spice cabinet. It looks like most people's pantry. It does. It's kind of scary in there.
Yeah, and the fact that you keep a padlock on it and it's behind a cage, I don't understand all that, but hey,
you don't worry about it till at midnight the door rattles. Other than that, you don't worry.
I don't understand.
It's not to keep anyone out. It's to keep certain contents in.
I want to know why your tarragon glows.
Oh, my French tarragon! I will be posting some pictures of the French tarragon this week.
Yeah.
French in air quotes.
No. There is no air quote around the French. This is the original. This is the stuff.
It's closer to having air quotes around tarragon.
No. This is not the junk they sell at the lawn and garden store and they just call it tarragon.
Yeah.
The spice is the French version of tarragon, not the Mexican, not the South American, not the no-name variety. The really good stuff is the French tarragon. And Claire, just so you know, I have 4 full pots of French tarragon, all about 8 inches tall right now.
Of course.
So I am ready for you.
Oh, yeah.
We will do a French tarragon poultry day coming up soon.
Yes.
But for today, enchiladas. So I sat down and I said, okay, all right, what is the American version of the enchilada? Well, it is basically cumin, chili powder, some chicken broth, some tomato paste, and that is fundamentally your base enchilada red sauce.
Right.
There's garlic and onion and other spices and flavors in there to taste, but what most people think of on the grocery store shelf is just basically the flavors are chili powder and cumin. It's basically, that's your basic start.
If you're going with the basics. Now, the truth is that a lot of families will go with the basics, at least until they get their taste done correctly, because you want to make sure that everyone in your family finds their own flavor, but you have to start with a very subtle base. Something that's not going to immediately kick someone in the tonsils.
Well, I find a lot of people make mistakes introducing a new food to the family by going too far.
Right.
All right, guys, ease in. Yeah. Make them familiar. So if your family's already familiar with a certain type of picante sauce, okay, use that.
Right.
And all right, is that a true enchilada yet? No, but it's a nice gateway drug to get your family over that next step.
Yes.
So now what is the enchilada itself? The enchilada is nothing more than a tortilla wrapped around something.
Mm-hmm. Now a lot of you guys are going to go, well, isn't that a burrito? Technically. But no.
There's, in many cuisines, there is a fine line between dishes.
Yes.
And when you get into your Hispanic dishes, and especially a lot of the Asian dishes, there are very fine lines as to what constitutes the burrito or what constitutes the enchilada, what constitutes this type of sushi or tempura or
and don't
there's
even
fine
get us
lines.
don't even get us into tamales.
Yeah, well, oh my gosh, you could start a fist fight right here.
Right.
Tamales do not come out of a can, ladies and
No,
gentlemen.
not
That's
even
all I got to
remotely.
tell you. If there's not a corn shuck involved, it's something with cornmeal. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But back to the enchilada. But we digress.
I'm sorry. I'm just like still sitting there going, you don't wrap food in wax paper.
Oof. I know. Well, some foods you wax, but not tamales. That's a corn shuck
Yes.
or nothing.
Banana leaf.
Yeah. Now that is a whole different that
But
that digresses
Oh my
into
God.
all kinds of Chinese
We've-
desserts that I enjoy.
we've got to turn this show into like 4 hours so we can do this. Anyway, we're going back to where we're at.
Watch Allan chase the little red dot around the room as they throw out food topics.
I really am the laser pointer of doom when it comes to your food challenges.
You are. So the enchilada, everybody knows, is basically ground beef, some onion, some bell pepper, of a little, we will quote unquote, Mexican seasoning. Now, I find as a cooking today cheat,
Right.
if your family really loves nachos, there's nacho seasoning.
Yes.
If your family really loves jerk, anything from the jerk family out of the Caribbean, you can buy jerk seasoning, nacho seasoning, taco seasoning. It's available.
Yeah. Growing up, I had two parents worked full time, so a lot of times, dinner came, for my sisters came from me. McCormick seasonings were my favorite, and the fact that now you go into that thing and it's like everywhere. I don't use them anymore, but they were always the perfect thing for let's introduce something new.
It's there. It's at the grocery store. You can buy it, and it's probably a nice mix.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people are going to look at us and go, well, you could do better. Well, you know what, guys? We're just worried about cooking today. It's 6 o'clock. You got to get dinner on the table, and this is what we got. So enchiladas are the perfect party food because it is assemble, bake, coat, and eat.
Yes.
That is just as I look at everybody, because I know so many people that get excited if you say it's enchilada night. They do.
Yeah.
They just get all worked up and excited because, let's face it, enchiladas, well, they're fun. They are easy. And whatever your favorite recipe is for them, you and your friends have all had them. It's kind of like Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's enchilada weekend.
You can't really go wrong with how you make your enchiladas.
And then you get to start having fun.
Yes.
Because what you use for a filling, honest to goodness, there's a Spanish dish called Paella, which is just basically, we're going to clean out the fridge and we're going to put it over rice.
And it's going to taste amazing.
Oh, generally it is considered a seafood dish, but I'm going to throw in, like many of these dishes, they are, what do we have on hand and how do we know to serve it? How can we serve it? Enchiladas, if you got a baking pan, flour torts, and stuff in the fridge, oh yeah. It's time to make some enchiladas. Alrighty, this is the Cooking Today Show. I'm Allan. I'm sitting here with Brandon and Claire, and we're diving into the wonderful, wide world of enchiladas.
Yes. Well, full disclosure, we already dove into it.
Yeah, well, full disclosure is I did at least 4 different types.
Yes, you did.
And these poor people had to suffer through trying all 4 enchiladas, and then we ran in here to get on the air.
It's
Things we do for your entertainment.
Yeah, it's the suffering comes later.
Yeah, well,
We ate too fast.
Well, you didn't truly get to sit around and savor it as much as you could have. But
Yeah.
Okay, enchilada number 1. Your basic ground beef, your browned hamburger.
Yeah.
I prefer a little diced onion, a little diced green pepper. Mm-hmm. Now, I will give you a quick cheat.
Okay.
There are a variety of brands of tomatoes and green chilies for making dips and sauces and stuff like that.
And we will name one of them as soon as they start sponsoring us.
Because one of them is one of my favorites,
Yeah.
and they really need to start, chipping in here.
Oh, absolutely.
But there are a variety of brands out there. There's all different. You can go to your dip section, you can go to your soup section, or you can go to your ethnic section of the of grocery store and
whatever your
they got
favorite
'em.
grocery store is. Yeah.
You know, mine happens to be the International Market, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Here we go. So I cheat, and you know, you can always add a little of that to the ground beef, and now you got a flavor.
Well, yeah, I've always found that it's best to add something along those lines while you're cooking the meat so that it soaks up the flavor. It also comes across really good when you have those picky eaters in your family who, if they see a bell pepper or a tomato or anything like that, and they freak out, you know. So sometimes it's best to put that in and cook it all the way through, so it all starts to look alike.
Yeah,
they don't see it.
They'll never know. Another cheat I find is if you know the family really loves tacos, add a little taco seasoning to it. You know, guys, it's your dinner.
Yeah,
that recipe you're looking at online is just there to give you the guidepost.
And let's just be honest: if you are a fan of a certain fast food, taco restaurant, you've got 40,000 packets of that their sauce left over after you've been there. Put that in when you're browning your meat.
I've done that. I have done that many times.
You get the same flavor you would get from the seasoning, just you don't have to cook it nearly as long to get rid of the texture. Because we all know I have texture issues, and that can really ruin my day.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
By pre-cooking the different pieces to this, now you can have basically do-it-to-yourself enchiladas. You have your shredded cheese.
The way you put that just seems like it's like you are going to be punished later. Enjoy your food now.
Well, no, just it's the I like more beef and less of that, or I want more cheese or less cheese, or
right.
As we've pointed out, there's more than one enchilada sauce.
That is
because
true.
basically all you're doing is you have a stuffing, you're rolling it in a tortilla, and you are covering it with a sauce.
And let's go ahead and preface this. While I am normally one of those, there's no such thing as too much sauce, guys. I'm usually one of those guys. When it comes to enchiladas and the baking, you don't need to drown it.
No, we're not sautéing. We're baking.
Right.
You need just enough. And you know what? Hang on to some sauce to use it like barbecue sauce or anything else later.
Yeah.
Because, again, different people like different spice levels. Somebody may like a little more sauce or a little less. There's nothing wrong with putting together a commercially available queso blanco, white cheese dip. That makes a great additional topping for this.
Oh, yes.
Some sliced jalapenos. And like I said, there's about 50 different bags of shredded cheese available from any number of vendors that will do an excellent job of giving you a nice, easy-to-melt cheese over something that's hot.
Yes.
And if you know you're going to throw like a big enchilada night, you can go down and buy the very inexpensive little foil pans, and you basically can, again, do it to yourself. What kind of stuffing do you want in it? Because besides the beef, the ground beef, we also did pulled chicken.
Yes. And I just want to say there was a flavor to that chicken that was just, it set it apart from any normal chicken enchilada I get. And I don't need your secret, but I just want to commend you on doing that. It was kind of smoky, but only a little bit, just enough. So yes, that was probably my second favorite of the ones you made.
That was from chicken thighs.
Right. Which you have sung their praises, in episodes before.
Now, I am a huge proponent of pulled meat as opposed to chopped meat.
Yes.
But this is going to involve cooking it the day before. So it's been a long day. You got the kids fed. Everybody's gone to bed. And now you have that hour or two where you normally do the dishes and that kind of stuff. This is a great time to go ahead and pre-cook something for tomorrow.
Yes.
In this particular case, chicken thighs. And again, I'll throw in from frozen, right out of the freezer, right into the stock pot of a tiny dash of what you're hinting at was jerk flavor.
Okay.
I put a couple of shots of jerk seasoning in there.
See,
so that they could sit there and simmer and then soak overnight. And the next day, when they were nice and cool, you could easily pull them apart by hand.
Right.
And again, something great to let the kids do or the guests do. Because everybody always asks, what can I do? Oh, here you go. There's a bowl full of chicken. Shred
Rip
it
this
up.
up with your bare hands.
Yeah.
There's no better way. No better way.
Make sure that if it's a guest, though, that they do wash their hands
they wash
first.
their hands first. Yeah.
We know you're going to make your kids do it.
Oh,
but make
yeah,
sure your guests do it as well.
Yeah, because you don't know where they were.
No. And guys, we're still in a pandemic.
Yes.
You know?
Please be safe, be careful. But, it's time to eat. We
Yes.
got to eat. Okay. Number 3 on the itinerary was steak.
And I am a huge steak fan, but typically not in, I don't, when it comes to my Mexican food, I prefer my steak to not be in there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's usually because it ends up being overcooked.
Mm-hmm.
You did it it was just moist enough. It was just flavorful. It did not get rubbery. It was,
I'm looking at Claire because she's a huge steak fan.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just nodding in agreement.
Yes, well, nodding works real good on the radio, Claire.
What people don't realize about Claire when they hear her voice, she's the kind of person who'll grab a raw steak and just bite into it. We've seen it. It's scary.
I may or may not be that weirdo who, pokes the meat at the grocery store just for funsies.
Yep. All right. Well, here is the real secret of that was indeed actually a nice steak.
Yeah.
But it was not a great steak. It was not a filet mignon or anything like that. The real secret is it was very thinly cross-cut.
Okay.
So when you're looking at, all right, and of course beef and any normal type of meat has a grain to it. So
Yes.
much like a piece of wood, you can kind of see the direction it used to work. And this was thinly sliced, and I mean very thin, because if you try to, everybody tries to make like a steak strip, but they cut them too long is what happens.
Yeah.
And then you wind up with what I call the chewy rubber band of protein.
Yeah.
And we've all had it. We've all pulled it out of
that's
Probably even made it.
That is the reason why I prefer to, if I'm going to do beef, to do ground beef or shredded beef as opposed to doing just basically any kind of steak, is because you go to a restaurant and you're like, these guys know what they're doing. No, they give you a 4-inch long strip of steak in the middle of your burrito. It doesn't work.
No. Now it does take a few extra minutes to do this, but it wasn't that long. So once that was all pre-done, again, lightly seasoned, this time with, I did a little taco seasoning on this, just a tiny little bit added some tomatoes, added a little of pre-canned green chilies.
Yeah.
Not much, just a tablespoon or so.
It was just enough to give it the flavor that is necessary.
I didn't want it to fight with the enchilada sauce.
Right.
Didn't want it to fight with the enchilada sauce. So got that all,
sauce will pick fights.
Say what?
An enchilada sauce will pick fights if you're not careful.
Yes.
Well, it's supposed to be the dominant flavor. That is why you put a sauce over something. Because what you should be achieving is different layers of flavor. Mm-hmm. The sauce is going to get to you first. Then you should hit your next layer. And in the case of an enchilada, since, Brandon loves to bring up texture, and I'm going to agree with him, because I use the flour tort's going to get a little softer. So you're going to have a soft layer. Any type of meat is going to be chewy at best. You're never going to have a meat that just falls apart like a bread. It's not going to happen. But you need that mouth texture to hit just right.
Yes.
So the smaller the pieces of beef are, the less bounce back you're going to get when you bite into it. Mm-hmm. And the smaller pieces mean you're also not biting off chunks of it.
Right.
And that's just kind of a big thing. Your enchilada should slice easily with your fork. You should be able to get that fork through there. Or, if you're using the fork and spoon, if you got to break out the big old knife to get through the enchilada, your pieces are too big.
Then there was no reason in wrapping it in to begin with.
Yeah, we could have made a whole different dish, a lot tastier. So welcome to 3 out of 4 of the enchiladas. And again, this is all stuff that could have been made yesterday and put on the counter today so people could just kind of like, oh, I want one of these, and one of these. This is the cooking show today.
Is
or
it?
it could be the Cooking Today show.
It's a
I'll get
choose
it
your
right
own
one of these times.
I'm just going to start calling the
You know,
show
we're-
Allan Feed Me.
Yeah, well, it's just, you get sidetracked on it's Brandon's fault. He
It
gets
is
me
my
off
fault.
on these topics. I forget where I'm at, what I'm doing. Food is kind of a passion for the
Oh,
two
God,
of
you
us.
should.
Say, we
You
need
guys
to
should
stop
come see
making-
us.
We need to stop making these episodes while in a food coma.
Yeah, well, we definitely need to get these people into a convention where we're both at, just to watch me, poke the bear and see the topics that come out of him.
Oh my gosh. It's food. It's enchiladas. It's fun. It's we're finally getting vaccinated. We're getting back together, and fun food is definitely becoming a topic for this year.
And we are now, dipping our toes into your fourth enchilada. Well, okay, that I think Allan knows what I'm saying here.
Yep. Let's wander over to Del Mar. This is where enchiladas really get interesting. This is also where, again, you need to gateway drug your family into seafood.
Yes.
I have so many people, even in the South, that will just look me dead in the eye and tell me, I don't eat seafood. And I look at them and I just go, you poor, deprived person. Somebody ruined you. That's all I got to say. Somebody at some point ruined you, because there is just nothing better.
I was once asked how it is I can just, I can eat, calamari when I won't eat, a half raw onion. And I'm just sitting there going,
I understand that difference.
I'm like, it's like I am a huge proponent for seafood of all kind.
Yeah, everybody sits there and goes, everybody wanders
No,
off into their
I'm
favorite
sorry,
seafood
my
for a
brain
moment.
went to the fact that there's a crawfish, stand down the street from where we record the show that is open tomorrow morning, and I'm kind of like,
If
you
it
know where to
is,
find
they will
you.
so get my money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Claire's looking at me like, really? No, trust me.
Yeah,
I've had dinner there twice now.
yeah, it's kind of awesome.
Again, I think you just can't shell shock people into something. You got to ease them over. So if your family, let's say for the sake of argument, your family has tried like the imitation crab.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not great, but it's not necessarily bad. A lot depends on what you do with it. And one thing that shocks a lot of people is crab meat, as a general rule, is quite sweet.
Yes.
So that is something you kind of need to pay attention to. If it's a flavor that's going to come through.
It really is, and so many people, they as soon as you tell them seafood, and you're especially if you're talking about shellfish, they've got this preconceived notion of what it's going to taste like before they've ever put it in their mouth.
Right.
And usually they're wrong.
Well, they should be wrong.
Yeah.
That's the real secret.
Basically,
They should be.
if they're not wrong, usually it was prepared wrong.
Yes. So anytime you get into seafood enchiladas, you got to keep in mind, you're basically going to be cooking everything twice.
Yes.
So if you're going to go with, and there's nothing that says you can't use a filler inside of an enchilada.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a favorite spiced or pre-done rice dish, that makes a great carrier for your shrimp, your lobster, your crab, your crayfish. So you're not stuffing it with so much meat. Okay, well, today you guys got, really blessed because I had a big bag of crab meat.
Yeah.
And boom, you got a true, honest-to-God crab enchilada.
Yes.
And
it was, I will be honest, Allan, that is the one that, as much as I was expecting it to be my favorite, actually is going to get the most criticism.
okay.
And that's because of the fact that I felt that it may have been overstuffed. Because, again, like you said, with seafood enchiladas, usually there is something that helps,
Right.
The filling. But we've got, like, pure crab.
Yep.
As opposed to, like, a mixture of crab and rice and maybe some baby shrimp, And it was good, but oh my God, I was not ready.
Well, and I kind of did that on purpose.
Yeah.
because I didn't really want to blend it with too many other things. I wanted it to stand out on its own.
And it did.
And it did. And it does. Now, if I were doing this for a dinner party, I would have made a nice turmeric rice or a nice Spanish rice, and I would have been about half and half.
Yeah.
To give you a little break.
Which is more of what I'm used to.
Right. I give my diners a little bit of break from a heavier seafood flavor. Because again, crab can be very sweet. Lobster and shrimp can get really rubbery.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, crayfish tails can get pretty hard if they are cooked too hard.
Right.
They can get pretty tough.
Which is something you risk in when you're baking the enchiladas after you've rolled them.
Well, that's why you have to be careful getting your seafood ready to go in the pan.
Yeah.
It just needs to be lightly flavored and sautéed, just enough to where you're comfortable that it's cooked.
Right.
And it's off the heat. You're not finishing it here because remember, it's got to go in the oven.
Yeah.
If the chicken was honestly 30 seconds on the done side.
Right.
Because again, chicken will also toughen up and get rubbery if you're not careful. Beef will definitely turn into a hockey puck if you cook it too hard.
Absolutely.
So again, relax a little bit. Keep in mind the steps that you've got going forward with this. Yeah. And honestly, if you think about enchiladas, tacos, and other related foods like that, really you can set up the fixin' bar.
Yeah. And then I did the horrible thing of bringing in the crack.
Oh, yes. You brought in, describe the mole, the sauce you brought in.
First of all, I want to go ahead and say that here in Memphis, there is a local Mexican restaurant. It's been around forever. Everybody knows it. You've seen their cheese dips in the stores. Well, they do a tropical dressing.
Yes.
And it's almost like what would happen if you took like avocado, ranch, and pineapple and put them into a mixer.
Pretty close.
Yep.
That's a pretty good description.
And they don't put the ingredients on this bottle.
No, they don't.
So you don't know what all's in it, but you don't care because it tastes like magic.
It does.
And the only reason I'm not naming them is because I want them to sponsor my show.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's something that once you add it, it's a contrasting flavor, but it helps to elevate the spices that you've already got.
Yeah, bright flavors like that, that's why they're like indispensable to a lot of Mexican food in my experience. Because otherwise it just gets too heavy.
Right.
Just too one note.
Yeah. Well, and the thing to remember since we're dealing with basically Latin food here, of the key word is not hot.
No.
The key word is flavorful.
Yeah.
Of you don't have to bury it in jalapenos.
No.
You don't have to bury, when they put the word Cajun on the label, that doesn't mean you have to bury it in cayenne pepper.
No.
The flavors should be at the enjoyable level for every diner.
Pain is not a flavor.
Now for some people that are true chili heads, it's like go for the heat.
It's like we understand that there's some of you guys out there that buy a lifetime supply of the Pocky One Chip Challenge because you're nuts, but you love that flavor. Now it's not to say that none of us are saying you're wrong, but you should be able to taste the food and not just the chili.
Right. So the trick is your level of spice. And that's why enchiladas, again, such a fun food. Yeah. Everybody in the family gets excited about it.
Yep.
It's one of those, hey, we're going to have enchiladas. Then somebody goes, ooh, I really like the green sauce, a little chili verde. Ooh, I really like the red sauce, right? Everybody has something that's a favorite. Yeah. It's kind of like everybody getting excited that they're having Taco Tuesday at work. Yeah. Man, show up at Taco Tuesday at work with like 4 different sauces. People will lose their minds. Yeah. They're like, wait, what do you mean there's more than one taco sauce? Yeah. Well, there's all different flavors.
And something that's really good is to put a little bit in each section of the taco so you get a different experience with each bite. And then your coworkers won't want you around anymore.
I'm just sitting here when you're making a Napoleon
taco. I have.
Just for fun.
And they're amazing.
Yes, they are. They are, but I'm
Little
just
flavor
sitting here
conga
watching in my
line.
head, watching you do it. It's just too funny.
Hey, again, if we go back to that certain fast food restaurant, mild on either end, then hot, and then Diablo. Yeah, it's like
It's true. I remember those dishes.
once you get into the middle, you hate yourself, but then you have something to go back down.
To be gentle on the, well, I don't want to say on the back end, but
Yes, you do, and you did.
Alrighty, guys. Well, we have been talking about fun food. We have been talking about enchiladas today. So if you would, pop over to thecookingtodayshow.com and leave us a message. Hit us with a like.